Welcome to part 3 of our paranormal investigation series on darkness to light. A few minutes ago, we touched on black magic and the Ouija board. Are there other things that people do to open doors to being tormented by demonic spirits?
Yes.
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 Okay, Kelly Joe, you can go.
It can be drugs and alcohol. They're like, you can like have the line of people following you.
Yes. Yes.
And another thing, like I said, being psychically aware and not knowing how to deal with it, that opens the door to all kinds of stuff because you're the light and people are going to come to you. You're the dead people. So like we all say, we give them tools to work with it. And then, like I say, messing with Ouija and black magic, that opens the door right up. That's why you always ask, what did you do?
Okay. Tommy, what have you seen? Some of these doors that people open.
All right. What I was going to say is, there's cults on this planet right now that do work with Satan's army. And when you deal with people that call that in, they're protected. They're protected from a lot of other things. And people don't know how far that goes because it goes way deeper than, inside the government and everywhere else. For complete control, which is actually affecting the whole planet. When you deal with that, for me, it's different. I challenge the entity, if it's a demon or creature, whatever words you want to use. I challenge it straight out. It's not like I'm going to put things there. A lot of entities and creatures say, well, you can burn all the sage you want. You could burn all the sweetgrass. You can do this. You could do that. Put eggs in the corner of the room. I was a witch when I was 14. I call myself a witch. I don't like warlock, but I learned all that from a girl 14 years old. So when I realized what she was doing and they killed her, the people killed her, and she wasn't doing bad things, but anybody with power in those days were considered evil. So for me, when like you said, when we open this door, these things can come in. But when you work and sacrifice, just a saying, Bob Dylan was on public TV and he said, I sold my soul to the devil. Publicly. He said, every song he wrote after that became $1 million album song for anybody that wrote it or used it. And he said, I'm not the only one that did that. So it was an actual confession to give over yourself to something in rewards for something in return. So, you can't help people like that. They don't want it. You can help people when they ask for it. And I feel you have no right invading somebody else's space if they don't want help. It's like saying, I'm going to get rid of all the demons on the planet. No, there's people that want to work with them. And they don't look at it as the same way we might. And say, well, that's not a really good thing to do. But in reality, for them, it is. I'm protected. I get everything I want, not realizing they're not going to get away from this planet too soon. And it's a journey. Spiritual quest and spiritual realization is the hardest journey you can take. But you do confront everything. A lot of things people will never confront in a lifetime because they're too afraid, not ready, or not willing. The dark night of soul and the dragon within and all those words, it's the other part of soul. It's the part that is the dark side. And we all have it. And if you can't face your own, how you can face somebody else's? So there's so many things that soul goes through in its learning when it deals with all these different things. I'm not a person, like I said, I just don't go walking around, oh, you need help? I wait till it happens in front of me, somebody falls down or something happens, a family person. I was in Florida. I don't know if I told the story last time, but I was in Florida and I was at a UFO convention and they all saw a ship over the hotel for the whole night. The worst storm that Florida ever had was a lightning storm. It lasted for 3 hours. It killed 44 people. And I didn't know what. I woke up crying and I said, I got to go to the ocean. And when I got down to the ocean, there was 44 people lined up on the beach. I didn't know what I was doing or how come or anything. I walked over to them. I opened up the sky. I pulled in the light. They all walked up and they all went up into it. It was, I don't know. It was amazing afterwards. And I said, how did I do it? Why did I do it? Or how did I know it? It was just, I always felt spirit shows me and puts me in the place where I have to be to do whatever has to happen. So yeah, I don't have to read books and listen to other people. Never did. I don't ever want to, but it's a hard path. And I give credit to the people that are doing it. Like the people on here right now, they're all doing what they need to do, and they're helping people. And that's a good thing. It's when you decide not to help people and you want to hurt people, then you're on the wrong side of the fence.
Right, absolutely. Stacy, what have you seen as
What
far as
have I
open doors?
Oh, okay. Well, even as much as like an anger issue that is out of control, okay, any kind of things like that, I've seen that. I had a case that was just, it was an anger issue that let in just hatred. And then there was another case. I got a call from a family that their house was haunted and their kids couldn't sleep in their rooms, and they've gone through this for years. And would I come and help them? And I got there, and their house wasn't haunted. Their children were psychic. Okay, so just like Kelly Jo said, people are empath or psychic, they don't know, or they don't know what to do with it. These kids thought their house was haunted, and they thought they were haunted. But so there we went. We regrouped. We showed these kids that, no, you're not crazy. Your house isn't haunted, but this is how, this is what's going on. And then we had to, I had to teach parents how to have psychic kids. So we're back to education again. So there can be windows that let things in that that people do not mean to. They don't. And if you are a sensitive, you are a lighthouse, you're a beacon, they're going to come. So it can be very innocent things that let things in, or, it can be bad, drugs, alcohol, anger issues, whatever else, given enough time can open a window to let something very serious in. And then now we have a problem,
Can I
Okay,
add
Sean.
something?
Yeah, go ahead, Kelly Jo.
Abuse can cause stuff too. If
Yes.
someone's
Okay.
been abused really bad,
Yes.
it forms energy, and it makes energy unto itself.
Yes.
Are we talking about emotional abuse or physical abuse, or
Emotional,
both?
physical,
Mhm.
all of that.
All of it.
Okay, so is this in the case where a father is abusive, or does this work the same for a mother?
Same way for everybody.
That's interesting. Sean, what have you seen?
Well, I agree with the majority of it. There's a couple other avenues I also want to tap into. And you guys kind of touched on most of it that could go there. But because I'm prior military, and I do know a lot of folks, and I've been in contact with a lot of folks that are on the downward side of looking at life and wanting to potentially no longer be here. It doesn't have to be connected to alcohol or drugs or anything, but if they're on the brink of no longer wanting to be in this existence, that can also drag in or bring in something that's not necessarily positive that could want them to go ahead and cross over.
Absolutely.
And then the other two areas, there's a couple of things that I've encountered personally. There's a device called the Spirit Box, which is very, very similar to a Ouija board, which people don't necessarily treat as the same as a Ouija board, that can actually connect with spirit. The major difference between the Spirit Box and the Ouija board is within the Ouija board, you are actually physically touching the planchette, the Ouija board, you are connecting your direct energy to it. But however, it's a portal for you to connect with spirits. And it's not, this Spirit Box does not just connect with spirits within your location. It connects with spirits within the range of the radio station. So basically you can allow things to come into your space through this tool without knowing it. And I've had people that were amateur, practicing, playing Ghost Hunter, and doing it within their home and then next thing you know, they have something that they brought in. And then I had a 13-year-old girl that was also, watching all the shows, and she was doing EVP sessions consistently within her own bedroom. So electronic voice phenomenon is the practice of trying to collect data so that you can hear the spirits talk back to you. And that also added, because she didn't know what she was talking to, she brought in as well some additional things that she wasn't ready for. So at least for the majority of what everybody else said is, I agree 100%. And then there's just those couple more avenues, at least, that I'd like to add into it.
Okay, great. There was something that you mentioned earlier, Sean, about shape shifting. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, it's only the one time I've ever encountered it, and I haven't run into it again, but I was checking into a location that I cannot discuss because this was something that I have become friends with the owners, and since they have kind of worked through this, because they had just purchased this bed and breakfast, and they knew that there was a history to this. I only checked in there because I wanted to go to the location to go do some potential gambling down the way. And when I popped into my room, I saw this shadow in the middle of the day. It's probably, it looked like a cat, actually on the wall. It proceeded to vanish at that time. I checked in because I wasn't going to go show fear, and I went and did my thing and then came back. And I explained to the owners what I did and so forth. And I proceeded, because I had some equipment with me, to set up my equipment throughout the evening. And believe it or not, it was able to set off equipment throughout the whole, it was 5 a.m. before I finally gave up on trying to sleep. But the weird thing within the shapeshifter is each time I asked it politely to leave, it left. I was never intimidated. I was never anything of that shape, other than I was growled at one time within the location, but I was never, it's not like it's not a negative encounter completely, but I don't think it was entirely positive, because later when I came back to the residence, because it's bed and breakfast, I was going to eat there, but at 5 o'clock I gave up and I went down to the casino and eat. I got something to eat and came back. As I bounded back up the hill towards the bed and breakfast, I saw what looked like a Doberman Pinscher on the porch of the bed and breakfast. And I proceeded to go, oh boy, I love dogs. I love animals, and I'm like, oh, I want to, so I'm bounding up there thinking I'm going to, frolic with this dog. And it was not there. It was not existed. So I knew that it had shifted from one to the other. And I also have another encounter that I can't really share that's was 36 minutes within the basement of this location that confirms that this was definitely something within location. But I just know that's the only time I've ever seen something that could apparently readily, quickly change its shape. And actually I could see it visually. This was with my eyes open. This was not with any kind of senses that I used, other than the fact I could see it. So it was interesting to me anyway.
Wow.
Has anybody else run into anything like that?
But I just want to add something into that. Obviously, we're talking about things out there that can shapeshift, but you can do it yourself. And when you're working with different kind of entities, you can shapeshift into whatever you want. And it works the same way back to them. And it's a lot easier to fight them at a higher level than whatever they're at. I mean, if they're a dragon, you could be a dragon 10 times bigger. You can shapeshift into whatever you want. Native people use that for a long time as well. So it's not like it's a new technique or it's a new theory, but to travel and things, shapeshifting was always a part of it. I mean, so I did it a couple times, and it depends what you work with. I mean, if you're working with the ghost, you really don't need to shapeshift. You're working with the average spirit and things like that, there's no reason for it. But if you're working with a real bad creature, entity, demon or whatever, there's a lot of times where it could pay. and then you can just show them up. Like I said, I challenge them to the max, and I'll call out, take out your sword, whatever you think you have. So yeah, I'm hardcore that way. I always been that way when it came to the inner worlds. But it's an interesting game when you play with those kind of things. But you really need to learn, even if it's your own inner tuition that teaches you as you move along. But hopefully you learn from every experience you go through, so it only makes you stronger, whatever you do in the next one.
Okay, let's get back on that subject about people that knowingly get involved with things that open doors, like selling your soul. Stacy, have you run into anybody that has done anything like that?
I have, and I don't understand why anybody would do anything like that on I think it's more they're challenging. They're not taking it seriously, or they are just they're being arrogant and foolish. And then they wonder why they have so much trouble come their way, you know. So I don't know what it is really that would make, and I'm talking to just about just the clients I have been with that have done this type of thing, you know, but I'm not sure. It's like they go at it like it's funny, like it's a game to begin with, you know, and that's just a very dangerous thing to do. Thinking any of this is funny or a game, especially when you're talking about dealing with something dark, because the dark side doesn't play. You're not going to win. You're not going to get anything out of it. And they're going to make you miserable. So, you know, and the one person in particular that I'm thinking of, the one that did these things and said these things, his life was horrible and he was still doing it. And then, you know, he just wouldn't give it up. He wouldn't give it up.
Well, can I just throw something in real fast?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Tommy.
We have famous people that do it. And I'll start off with one simple word: skull and bones. All right. They openly give themselves to Satan. And it's ceremony, it's high class, it's millionaires, it's not stupid people, it's not dumb people, it's people of power. People always want more power. And if something offers them more power, a lot of people will take it. Well, say this life is pretty lousy anyway, it couldn't get any worse. And then suddenly they're in this power place where they're using power. So it can be taken on in an indirect way, not really understanding it. Like if you don't know Satan, obviously you don't know what he's going to do when you work with it. But accepting power, accepting gifts and things like that, it goes a long way. And it's not like why I would do it. I'll just say this. I was 19. I was going through a serious problem in my relationship. And I went outside. I was on a fast for a week. And I said, okay, I'm going to challenge God and Satan. Whichever one of you can prove that you're important and real, please do it. And I stood there waiting for the block to burn on fire. I was waiting for anything to happen. I said, both of you don't have no power. You can't do something right now. I guess you're not as powerful as you think you are, or everybody believes you are. And I went through that. It was, I mean, not a complete breakdown, but I was challenging it to the max. It took me a week to come out of it. And then I realized I have more power than anything in this reality for me. So it became different. But see, people can, in a bad relationship or anything could throw you out of balance with where you're at, and you're open and you're not realizing what you're giving up. If you feel like life's useless, or drugs are the same thing. When you do drugs, it's an entity. It's taking your reality from you. It's the same as giving yourself over to Lucifer, or not Lucifer, it's Satan. It's giving over of what you are and who you really are to something else. It doesn't have to be a big demon. It doesn't have to be a little creature. It could be anything. But they affect you the same way. They destroy your life and they take your soul awareness away. And it leaves you in a really bad place. So is it a good thing or a bad thing? You need to decide that there is a good thing and a bad thing. Now, if you say you're God, which a lot of people believe they are God now, There is no right or wrong. And a lot of people don't believe in right or wrong. If you come from a place like that, you can do anything you want and feel that there's no consequences to whatever you do. I'm not going to go into religions and stuff that believe in that aspect. So it's a matter of really understanding spirit and learning from that, or you can learn from people, which isn't any beneficial thing in this reality. But I learned it the hard way. I do everything the hard way. I always step into it to see how real whatever it is in the first place. So yeah, I always tell people, look, I'll walk through the fire to make sure that it's hot. When I did my first fire walk, the flames were 6 feet high. And he says, well, does anybody want to go through it? And I was dancing and I said, sure, I'll go through it. Oh, well, they said, well, we usually wait till the fire dies down. I walked through the fire. I mean, the fear wasn't there. I mean, obviously, because 2 people burn their feet to really bad and everything else. So when they say fire walk, usually it's always a group of people. And after one person walks across it, they're always stepping out the coals and the next person walks across it. But when you do it as fully aware of what's happening or what could happen, knowing that it can't hurt you. I did fire dancing, so I was never afraid of fire. I was always in tune with it, the fire elements. So yeah, there's things beyond things that we work with or most people can work with or even want to try to work with. But opening yourself and selling yourself, we do it in so many ways. People marry a girl that they know is bad for them or a guy that's bad for them. It's the same thing. I mean, it's a matter of giving yourself over to something that's not beneficial.
I don't know. I think the worst thing that you can do is sell your soul, and you find out after you're dead that your spirit is eternal, and eternity is a long time. And these people, do that for the short-term gratification of having success in their their music career or their acting career. I mean, it's astounding. Freddie Mercury of Queen had said one time that that he was going to have a party in hell with Satan. I mean, what is he thinking? What is he thinking right now? That's my question. But beyond that, is there any way to get out of these kinds of contracts?
No, I'm going to just tell you my truth. All right. You don't have to accept it. All right. This is hell. All right. When you die, you could stay here or go into the next realm. There's 3 levels to each realm. The next realm, there is no hell in the astral plane. There is a place where a lot of these demons stay and hang out, but you cannot. 99% of all souls go there. They can't kill those demons and get rid of them or anything else. I mean, like Jesus can't walk in there and say, "Oh, you're all gone." But as long as you live here, if you were a mass killer in your last lifetime, you joined the army and you killed 100 Native people, whatever the story is, that's what causes karma, and that causes the reaction to work with with Satan. Killing under any reason is a cause for worry because that will give you many lifetimes of reincarnation. And you said, how can you get out of it? Paying your lifetimes of reincarnating to pay that back. In some form, some way, you have to pay it back. Nobody can take it away from another person. And people think they can go to a psychic, they can take their energy away. When they die, they have that sitting right there and they have to pay it back, which means they reincarnate. I stayed on the astral plane a long period of time watching souls coming back and coming back and coming back, coming up there. Very few souls get to stay there. I mean, the words that keep people here is the things that Satan loves. Attachment. I call it lust, greed, anger, vanity, and attachment. Those things will keep a person here. And that's what I say it, sorry again. Satan is a pleasure to create. It wants to keep you in its world, in hell, dealing and where else would you see pain and suffering? You don't experience that when you go into the higher realms. You don't see people dying and all those words that we deal with it daily here. It's a different place when you leave this reality permanently. Most souls have karma. They've been mass killers. They've been a killer. They've been this, a rapist, abuser, and any other words you want. Women have never been actually freed until rather recently. They were never a spiritual being in man's reality for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. So it's a different place and time now where women, I always say they have more compassion than men will ever have. But in reality, it's a change of energy. Now, Satan is what? Male or female? People want to say, well, it's a he. People want to say this is that, he or she. Angels don't have sexual genitalia, so they're not male or female. So when even the word Michael or Gabriel or whatever words you want to use, it doesn't mean that they're male or female, because sex doesn't exist in the higher realms. So all these concepts keep us here. So you can't just say Satan's a bad person, give yourself, you could sell out, selling your family, doing stupid things. It's selling out. Being in touch with spirit, learning what spiritual laws are and how to live within that without hurting people is the only way you stay clear of any of this. As long as you don't bring people in to hurt them in any way, you'll be clear of it. The second you think, oh, I'm going to get in this relationship and I could do this, I can do this, I could still cheat. And all those little things is selling out to Satan. It's not selling out to God. It's not selling out to spirit. Because, I mean, if you listen to what Jesus said, you would understand those things real simple. And in Revelations, and people don't read Revelations too clearly because it says what sins cannot be forgiven. And whether you want to believe it or not, that's a different story. But when you go to the astral plane and hang out there for years and centuries, you can see what happens to soul when they come and go. There's 3 levels. And the second level is where soul stays on the astral plane. The first level where they come, they see what it is, and they're thrown back here. And when they come back here, they lose all awareness of it again. So reincarnation is not a benefit. People think, oh, I can come back and do it all over. You come back without the awareness. It's like doing it all over without the awareness of doing it the first time. I mean, if you put your hand in the fire, your first reincarnation, you wouldn't want to come back the next time and stick your hand back in the fire, knowingly. Obviously, you wouldn't. Soul moves on, usually. But if it's pleasurable here, there's no reason for it to move on. The same as when you get to the astral plane. If you're happy in the astral plane, there's no reason for you to go into the mental plane. If you're happy in the mental plane and it's bliss and everything you want, there's no reason to go into a higher world. And then the way I'll tell people, it's the easiest to attain the highest awareness here because you're in the worst conditions. When they get closer and closer to the conditions that you think are right, the less you're going to want to leave it. I'll leave it at that.
Okay, Sean, what's your belief on what happens when you die?
Sorry, excuse me. I believe that there is a lot of folks that become guardians. They watch over folks that are already here on Earth. When I connect with loved ones, because I'm a medium, I have never really connected with like the great, 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 great grandfather of somebody. So I believe in reincarnation. I believe that they can and will come back. But a lot of what does happen, and this doesn't mean everybody watches over somebody, but I do believe that a significant number are afforded the opportunity to come and watch over or guide us through our daily existence on this plane. In my interactions with spirit, in my conversations when I'm helping people, helping clients, not either in readings or in homes, I've always felt that they've told me that they are watching over somebody, but that doesn't mean everybody is watching over somebody, you know, but there are instances where I have been told through the connection that they do have other realm jobs, other things that they go do. I had a gentleman that in this lifetime was handicapped, and he died in his 50s, but he always felt really restricted and was not really happy with the way things flowed. However, when he expressed what he was doing now, he was extremely excited because he was afforded the opportunity to what I would consider, I guess he called himself a guardian to the gods. He didn't call it a guardian angel. He called it a guardian of the gods. So basically, and he told me he was doing these spiritual building blocks of allowing him or getting him to the point to be able to do this. So I believe that from my experience with spirit, I believe that several watch over individuals, and then some have jobs on the other side that are not necessarily everything that I've actually encountered. So I don't know everything that they do or all their jobs that they have to do. I only can tell you from my personal experience, and that's how I do my investigations and everything else is because I do it through what I've learned. And so when I see it, or my viewpoint is, several of them do end up watching over folks, and some people have numerous folks that are watching over them, because the folks that are in the spiritual work, like ourselves, we actually get a little more guidance, and folks that are kind of working with us to kind of help us, to guide us, to make sure that we are safe in different ways, depending on what we are directly dealing with or what we were working with. But I do believe there are other jobs that I am not aware of that are also over there. But at a certain point, I do believe that there's reincarnation, where at that point they do come back to this existence.
Could I just throw something real fast on that? From my truth, anyway, we all have two guides, not a family, but spiritual guides. The problem is whether you listen to them or not. People are dying, families are dying, children are dying, and they don't know how to communicate, or they don't know how to listen. And I give a simple technique, how to listen to spirit versus mind. And that's something all people should know, because in any given situation, spirit's there and it tells you. If you don't listen, it can't help you. I mean, she said, don't cross the street. You go, I'm going to run across the street and you get hit by a car. No, spirit's always there, and it's always, and it's not in the time frame that we're in, so it can see what's going to happen. But the ability to learn to listen, it's not complicated. But if nobody teaches you it or tells you that you can, and that it is important to be able to listen to spirit rather than the ego and the mind, you can get in a lot of serious problems, including death. Just wanted to throw that in there real fast.
Okay, Kelly Jo, what's your belief on the afterlife?
Well, I believe that our ancestors can look over us. And I have met 5 generations back, grandma, grandpa, and because I'm a medium, I can go way back.
Okay.
But your dead people, your ancestors aren't your guardian angels or guides. Your guides aren't human. They've always been with you, and they're angelic. And you have the main guide that's with you for eons, and then other guides can be added unto you. Like I tell people, you can pray for any kind of angel you need at any point in time. Like if you need a parking angel, you pray for a parking angel, you know. But, and 2, your ancestors, if they're dumb over here, they're going to be dumb over there. They won't have all the answers.
You're so right.
You know, so that's the way I see it. And they do reincarnate. People come back. Like sometimes when women lose a baby, it'll reincarnate and come back. It might not come back through the lady that lost it. It might come back through her daughter that has a grandchild.
Right.
So that's usually how that rolls.
Right. I've encountered that as well.
Okay, and Stacy, go ahead. Go ahead, Sean.
Can I punch back in here? Yeah,
Sure.
I do believe that we do have spirit guides. And yes, I do know a female that watches over me primarily. She's the one that kind of tells me, hey, it's a good idea for you to run at this point. And I do know I work with her, and I don't necessarily address the male that's with me as much. And he's kind of adamant that I need to. But at the same time, I do know that when I'm in situations, the loved ones will flow in and come in stronger. I haven't actually connected with my lineage further back than a couple of generations. So maybe that is something I can do in the future. I'm excited about that piece. I haven't encountered that myself.
Are you Native American?
No, I'm Irish. I'm Irish and German.
Well, you got Native American guides.
Yeah, I do have one that's I picked up when I went to Nevada.
He's Shawnee.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Sorry about that. I escaped.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Stacy, to wrap up, what's your belief on the afterlife?
Well, like everybody else, it's personal experience is the only thing I have to go by. And doing medium work, the people who have passed on that I've spoken with, they've taught me how things work. at least how it worked for them. Some of them they do stick around and look after a family member for a certain reason, or they're in and out and they have other places to go. Some spend their time fixing on that side what they were unable to fix on this side. And so and I believe that we reincarnate also. I don't know exactly how that works, but I believe that it does. And I think that what I've been shown is that we have a lot of options, and we have choices, and we have free will. And people take care of that. They take advantage of that, and they can either get well or they can reincarnate, with the same issues that they refuse to take care of here. So that's been my experience in the work that I've done. And it's been beautiful. I've been shown a lot, and I'm grateful. I'm very, very grateful.